At that time, the Earth did something that sounds incredible today. It pushed all its land together. 2.9 billion years ago, Asia, Africa, America, South Pole, Europe, like 5 pieces of magnet-absorbed puzzle, slowly clustered together and eventually became a whole piece. Scientists call it the Pantanal. How big is this supercontinent? It put almost all the land on the Earth together, taking up about 1/3 of the surface area. If you open the world map now and push all the continents to the middle and push them all together, that's what it looked like back then.
Sounds cool, right? But this is exactly the beginning of all nightmares. Think about it. The land is all together. The middle is far from the ocean. The water gas can't penetrate at all. There is also a giant mountain range in the middle of the mainland. It's like a wall on the equator. It completely cuts off the humid airflow from the north and south. As a result, the center of the mainland became a super desert. The area is several times larger than today's Sahara. How high is the temperature on the surface? Let's put it this way. If a lizard stops on the ground, it won't move for a few minutes, and it will be cooked alive. How much water does it absorb? Most rivers are seasonal. When there is a storm, the riverbed will crack open in a few days. If plants can't survive, animals will be worse off. So all the lives are squeezed into a few still breathable corners. The most crowded area is the area north of the Côte d'Ivoire. It's around Russia and Siberia today.
The climate is relatively cool and the water is barely enough, but don't think it's safe here. When all the lives are squeezed into the same area, competition is not competition, but slaughter. This became the most concentrated land of the late top beasts of the Second World War, and the one standing at the top of the food chain was not a dinosaur. Dinosaurs don't even have shadows at this time. The real overlord is a group of things you probably haven't heard of. It's called the rhinoceros. Many people think it's a kind of lizard.
Wrong. It's an ancient monster between reptiles and mammals. In other words, the cat, dog, tiger, elephant you see today, including yourself, are far enough ahead. The ancestors are all in the same circle with it. But don't be in a hurry to feel close, because the most ferocious one is called the rhinoceros. Its fossil was first discovered in Russia. Later, it was also discovered in South Africa. It is 3 to 4 meters long.
The largest individual may be close to 4.5 meters. It's about the same size as an adult polar bear, but its skull is 45 centimeters long. Its mouth is wide open. The angle is quite amazing. It has 2 rows of long teeth, like a military knife. The whole tooth can grow to 12 to 15 centimeters. Imagine a polar bear-sized thing with a sword-like tooth in its mouth, rushing at you at full speed. Just this picture is enough for you to sleep for a week.
But what's more terrible is not its size, but its way of killing. Rhinoceros is not like cats and dogs. It only kills its prey. Its strategy is more primitive and cruel. It rushes up and bites hard. It tears open a big wound. Then it retreats to one side and stands there and looks at you coldly. It looks at you bleeding. It looks at you trembling. It looks at you falling slowly. If you haven't run out of breath yet, it will walk over and take another bite. The biologist found a hole at the front of the rhinoceros skull fossil.
And there are obvious signs of healing around. What does it mean? It was bitten by its own kind and survived. It survived for a long time. Even socializing with the same kind is done by biting each other. You know how wild these things are. At this time, you think the land is too dangerous. But you must not run into the water, because that may be the stupidest decision you've ever made. The river and the swamp of the second stage lurk a more outrageous thing.
It's not a giant shark. It's not a crocodile. It's not a lizard. It's an amphibian. But it's not the same size as today's frog. Its body length is more than 5 meters. Its maximum body length may be close to 9 meters. It is the largest amphibian in the history of the Earth. Its head is long and sharp.
Its mouth is full of pointed teeth. Its whole body is like a piece of dry wood. It lies on the bottom of the water without moving.
You can't see it at all when you stand on the shore. You can only see a calm river. Then you bend your waist and want to drink some water. It's already there. The moment you open your mouth to the river, you don't even have time to react. Those pointed teeth are not used to cut. They are used to lock up the dead. The more you struggle, the deeper it is. The land is dead. The water is dead too. This is the second stage. It's a time when even escaping is a luxury.
But what really makes people dizzy is that the ultimate beasts that have dominated for tens of millions of years are all dead. They were not defeated by stronger opponents. They were killed by the Earth itself. About 250 million years ago, something happened deep in the far north of the mainland of South Korea. A huge earthen pillar began to rise. What is an earthen pillar? You can understand it as the core of the Earth.
Deep in the core of the Earth, an extremely hot lava flow with a temperature of more than 1,500 degrees rose up from thousands of kilometers underground like a burning iron pillar. It pierced through the Earth. But this is not the kind of volcano eruption we imagine. It's not the kind of volcano eruption that the fog clouds rush into the sky, the kind of volcano eruption that the flames shoot out in a few hours. This time, it's 10,000 times more terrifying. It's a silent, thousands of kilometers of earthen crack. The lava is not sprayed from the mouth of the volcano. It's like a flood. It comes out of the crack, layer by layer on the ground. In the end, it covers an area of more than 7 million square kilometers. What is this concept? It's equivalent to a whole Australia being reburied with lava. The thickness of the lava accumulated in some places is more than 3,000 meters. 3,000 meters! It's higher than 10 Eiffel Towers. And this eruption didn't last a few days, not a few months. It lasted for millions of years without stopping. This is the dark lava world of Siberia in geological terms. But the ironic thing is that the lava itself is not the most fatal. The real killer is the chain reaction it triggers, and the terrifying level of this chain reaction is beyond anyone's imagination. In the first step, carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide, which are astronomical numbers, are injected into the atmosphere. When carbon dioxide meets hydrogen, it turns into oxygen and falls from the sky. That's not rain. That's acid. Plants wither and die. The food chain starts to collapse from the bottom. In the second step, the concentration of carbon dioxide rises. The greenhouse effect is out of control. The global average temperature has risen by at least 10 degrees in a very short time. What does 10 degrees mean? Today, the global warming is 1.5 degrees. We're already panicking. That's 10 degrees. The surface temperature of the ocean has risen to nearly 40 degrees Celsius. The entire ocean has become a pot of hot soup. All the dead pebbles. The three-leaf worm has been in the ocean for nearly 300 million years. It's completely extinct. The third step is the real fatal blow. After the ocean temperature rises, a large area of oxygen is lacking. The oxidized bacteria at the bottom of the deep sea take the opportunity to reproduce. They don't need oxygen, but their metabolism is toxic. This kind of gas continues to spread to the upper water bodies. The color of the entire ocean changes from blue to olive green and rotting purple. The oxidized bacteria won't stay in the water. When it comes out of the sea, it's full of air. Do you know what it smells like? Stinky eggs. But if the concentration is a little higher, you won't even smell the smell, because it will numb your sense of smell. A little higher, take a breath. The lung tissue is directly injured. At the same time, the gas of the volcano eats up the smelly oxygen layer. The purple outline goes straight in, directly on the surface. Any creature exposed to the sun is slowly being burned to death. And the latest scientific discovery makes the truth of this disaster more complicated.
Scientists found that in addition to the large-scale volcanic eruptions in Siberia, there were also severe acid volcanic eruptions, releasing huge amounts of copper and hundreds of millions of tons of carbon dioxide. The intensity of the eruption is far beyond today's volcanic activity. These acid volcanoes release cold gas which penetrates the flow layer and stays in the flow layer. It creates a long-term climate in the global area. Severe fluctuations and severe cooling first. Then the temperature rises rapidly. This speed of cooling and heating is more fatal than the simple slow warming of the creature. In other words, the great destruction of Erdi was not done by one murderer. At least two murderers worked together. One in the north, one in the south. They worked together to blow the earth to pieces. And what's even more terrifying is that death did not come at the same time. The land ecosystem in the high latitude area collapsed first. Then, like the dominoes, one latitude after another advanced towards the equator. In other words, if you stand near the equator, you can see the death news from the north coming to you one by one. And you can't do anything but wait. The ultimate beasts that once dominated the land were exterminated by the wolves. The historical beasts were almost exterminated. Their teeth, power, armor were fragile like a piece of paper in front of the suffocating atmosphere and boiling acid rain. The most delicate killing machines could not stand a single one. But what followed was the most shocking part. Those who survived were not the strongest or the biggest. They were not armed to the teeth. Those who survived were a little thing that looked like a fat pig, called a water dragon. It was not big. It was only about 1/2 meter to 1 meter long. It only had 2 curved teeth in its mouth. It did not have the killing power or the power of a historical beast. But it had the ability that other animals did not have. It could dig holes. When the surface turned into a jail, the water dragon was trapped in the hole. It relied on the oxygen that was left in the cave and the relatively stable temperature to survive. When it was exterminated, the surface of the earth was almost empty. The water dragon became the earliest and the most common amphibian on land. It was the most rare little thing that inhabited the whole planet. The final number was like this. More than 80% of marine species were exterminated, and about 90% of land species disappeared. Scientists gave this disaster a name, the Great Death. It was the closest to the end of life. Accurate geological data showed that the most severe stage of extinction lasted less than 60,000 years. In 60,000 years, the Earth became a burning wasteland. The world was more suffocating than the extinction itself. Research of South Africa's Karupendi showed that after the disaster, the river became from being stable to a mess, because the plants were all dead. There was no solid ground to lie on. There was a long layer of mold. It meant that there was almost no mold because there was not enough plants to grow and accumulate. The planet was quiet and scary, like an empty house without people living in it. The recovery of the ecosystem took at least 5 million years. Some researchers believe that the real recovery would take 30 million years. No matter what number it is, it's the same cruel truth. Destruction only takes tens of thousands of years. Reconstruction takes hundreds of times of time. But life still comes back. From those holes, from the shadows of cracks, from the deepest and darkest corners of the ocean, there are always some inconspicuous little things biting their teeth and coming back to life. They have no teeth, no armor, no body 3 meters long. But they have one thing in common. They are small enough, deep enough, and tough enough. Every cell in your body carries the gene of the second-order mass extinction survivor. You exist not because your ancestors are the strongest, but because they are the least eye-catching. They are small enough, weak enough, and unimportant enough. The Earth wrote with the disaster of 250 million years ago. But the story is far from over. The Great Extinction emptied almost all the ecosystems. All the old kings were exiled. A new door to the arena is opening. A group of small climbing animals will rise that no one can imagine.
About 237 million years ago, Sandy Gikani evolved a name you've definitely heard of: dinosaur. When dinosaur first appeared, it was small, weak, and unimportant. How did it turn out? See you next time.